It's your boy, Amreezy, and I'm back with another Road to Sorare Boss episode where we follow my journey in the wonderful world of Sorare. We talk all things Sorare. We like to take it casual here. If you're new around here, make a cup of tea, put the kettle on while the video is paused because you're making your cup of tea. Give the video a like and a subscribe. It'd help me out massively. Be much appreciated. Unpause that video, cup of tea in hand. Let's talk Sorare. So, Euros is finished. European seasons are coming back soon, maybe a month or so. We've got some Liga MX, which is really great for me at the moment as a Mexican football fan. We have Liga MX football. So I'm able to play my Mexican cards now, which I'm really appreciating. There's no European football. So if I didn't have my Mexican cards, if I didn't have these Liga MX cards, I'd be itching to play Sorare. I wouldn't be able to wait till the European season starts. But as it stands, I'm able to play with my Liga MX cards. I'm able to play in the Contender division for now and a couple of capped leagues while they still are here till August. And then when the European season comes back, it's kind of, I'll be like, it'll still be exciting for me because I'll be able to play with even more lineups, Premier League, Champion, Challenger. But for now, I'm quite enjoying just playing Contender with my Liga MX cards. It's nice and quiet. I'm seeing lots of people saying, it's boring. Sorare is a bit boring right now. The Euros is finished. The European seasons haven't started yet. There's this awkward period for a lot of people, and I'm really appreciating having my Liga MX cards so that at least I can play some Sorare lineups. And last week, I did win a card from my Contender division. So I won a card thanks to my Liga MX cards. I also won another card from the Sorare Rivals co-op leagues. So that finished this kind of week, and I did do a tweet, or I did a message, whatever it's called on X, saying that I feel a little bit like Scott Carson when he wins a medal with Manchester City, because I didn't do that great in my co-op leagues, but some of my other people did in those co-op leagues. So I won a card, and spoiler alert, these two cards, they're not exactly Kylian Mbappe, they're not exactly Haaland. However, it's nice to win two cards, and I'll show you later in the video which cards I won. But let's start off this week's video, as always, by looking at how I did last week in last week's Sorare lineups. Right then, here we go. This is how I did for the week, for the games of July the 12th to the 16th. And Liga MX is back. I'm happy. My Contender team is where I put my strongest cards out. I put my strongest 5 Liga MX cards, and it won me a reward. It won me a tier 4 card. I finished on 361 points, which is a nice score. I could have done better. But happy that the Liga MX cards have started returning me already this early on in the Liga MX season. I finished 239th, which is quite nice. I was quite close to a tier 3 card, which would have been a lot better. But it was encouraging for me. I have 2 mini collections. Well, the Santos collection isn't very mini. They're my main Mexican team, but they're not very good. So Santos is my biggest collection, but Necaxa is my kind of second collection because they're a little bit better, and I kind of like them as well as Santos. So I went for Necaxa and Santos. So for my strongest lineup in the Contender, I think it's usually going to be Necaxa collection, featuring a few other cards that I have from other teams. I think my Santos collection will always be the weaker team. My Santos lineup will always be the weaker team that I put out, or I'll put it out in the capped leagues while I can. So the team that won me was the Necaxa goalkeeper, Necaxa midfielder, the 2 Necaxa midfielders, Brian and Paradella. They are 2 great midfielders for Necaxa. Basically, Necaxa play 3 midfielders behind a striker. And I have all those 3 midfielders. I have these 2 boys, and then the third one is a striker called Monreal. He doesn't actually, he's a forward in Sorare, but he kind of plays as a winger in the Necaxa team. And then they've got a striker ahead of them. So I've got, in the cards, all 3 of those Necaxa attackers behind the strikers. So these are the 2 best ones, and then the other one, Monreal, I put in some other lineups, but I think there will be weeks when I play all 3. I play the 2 midfielders and the forward if they have a good fixture, and I've got the 3 main attacking threats from Necaxa. So I put the 2 Necaxa midfielders in my lineup. Brian did really well. I probably should have captained Piovi, my defender that I signed like 2 weeks before this. 102 from Piovi. Not only is he my favorite defender to watch in the entire Mexican division, He plays for Cruz Azul, really fun defender. I was talking about last week how he reminds me of David Luiz, how he's so attacking. He got an 102 points. I should have captained him. If I had captained him, and Aguirre would have done different, we would have done really well this week. But I'm not complaining. We still won a card. We still did well. So two Necaxa midfielders, Necaxa goalkeeper, Piovi, my favorite defender in Liga MX from Cruz Azul, and then Aguirre from Atlas. Now, Aguirre is an exciting player for Atlas. He used to play for Santos when I first discovered him. Now he plays for Atlas, and he's like always on the end of chances. He does waste a lot of chances. He'll miss like 2 or 3 big chances every game, but most games he'll score one or get an assist. He's always involved. They don't have a lot of other strikers at the team. I think he's the best striker at the club. So although he didn't do well, it was Tigres, a really hard game. But I'm really excited how Atlas have started the season. I've got 2 Atlas midfielders. I've got Aguirre, the Atlas striker. I've got Doria, my Santos boy, who's moved to Atlas. So hopefully he gets in the starting lineup. If that happens, I've got myself a stack of Atlas cards, just minus the goalkeeper. So he didn't do well against Tigres, but the rest of them did quite well. So that's how I did in the Contender division. That's how I won my reward from last week. If we look at the capped leagues where I put the rest of my Liga MX cards out, the cap 270, Monreal, that's the guy I was telling you about, the other Necaxa midfielder. He's listed as a forward in the game, but 73 from him, delightful. Jairo Torres is the guy that I got last season when Chicago, that's where his card's from, Chicago released him because they couldn't afford enough. They have a quota in the MLS where they can only have 2, I think, non-US players, 2 foreigners. So they couldn't register him. So they released him on a free. Juarez picked him up on a free. He used to play in Liga MX where he had a little bit of promise. He went to the MLS for big money. It didn't quite work out in MLS. Last season, he moved back to the to the Liga MX, and it took him some time to settle in. He's still young. He started the season well. A 76 from him. I'm really hoping he can be a player who... I mean, I was trying to trade this card away, like... In the off season, I was trying to trade him away, but I'm glad I've kept him now because if Juarez can pick up a bit of momentum, they've signed a few players in the summer. Maybe he can stay in the first team, keep giving me scores like that. He could be a good card. I did put Doria in because he just signed for Atlas. I thought maybe against Tigres he makes his debut. He didn't make his debut against Tigres. He also didn't play midweek when Atlas beat Santos. That was a hard one to watch. When Atlas beat Santos, he didn't play as well. So I don't know when he's going to make his debut. So I'm not going to rush him into my lineups this weekend because I don't know when he's going to make his debut. I'm going to wait till he makes his debut for Atlas, then start putting him in lineups. But for now, Doria might be a bit too early for him. Atuesta didn't have the best of games. LA lost 5-1, which I really didn't see coming. It was a home game against a team who are doing well, but I didn't expect them to lose 5-1. You never know with the MLS. This always happens. So... he didn't do well, and then I did have a DMP goalkeeper because I was kind of hoping they all really did well. So 270 didn't do that great. 240, I put a Santos lineup out. Santos goalkeeper, Carrillo, the Santos midfielder, Munoz, who seems to be the Santos striker. He's not that great, unfortunately. He's not blowing me away. But he seems to be the only Santos striker that they have. They did sign another guy, but he seems like he's a little bit injured. So Munoz is at the moment the starting striker for Santos. He did well. He scored a penalty. He got 70 points. Bruno Amione, well, that was a bit of a silly one for me putting him in because he's away with the Argentina under-23s on international duty. So he's going to be missing for a few weeks with Argentina under-23s. So no more him for a while. And then Nathan Silva, a big score playing against Santos. He's a starting defender for Pumas. When Pumas have a good fixture, I need to be playing him more. And against Santos, that is a good fixture, unfortunately for me. So he did well. The Santos boys did okay. In all, I was 20 points off getting a $2 threshold. So that was unfortunate. If I'd have just picked the Santos defender, like I do have Govea, Santos defender who started. If I'd have picked the right Santos defender, I would have got my threshold. So a little bit annoyed about that. And then my 220, again, DMP goalkeeper. And then I put out Cucurella, who was in the Euro 2024 final, did well, 73 points. Enzo Fernandez was in the Copa America final, did okay, 61. So I put those boys in because they had Copa America finals and Euro finals. I then went for Brandon Vasquez, who has started the season really slowly at Monterrey. He didn't hit the ground running last season in his first season at Monterrey. I was hoping that this season Monterrey would play him more. He'd gel into the team a little bit more, but it's not happening for Brandon Vasquez at Monterrey. So I'm going to stick with him again this season. Hopefully he gets going at Monterrey, but it's not looking good. I think I'm only going to play him when Monterrey have a good fixtures or if I see he's building a bit of momentum. But at the moment, Vasquez isn't really happening at Monterrey. And then Villalpando, who's usually a good midfielder, but 41 points from him this week wasn't the best result. So 198 points from my Cap 220. Then I put some training lineups out and some under 20s and Euro teams just to build up the squad experience. So that's how I did. I won one reward. Let's see who I won as my reward and who my new cards that I've bought since last week have been. So the card that I won from my Contender division was this guy, Kim Min Duk. Not the most exciting player. I can't say I know much about him. A Korean defender. I don't know much about him. I looked up his scores. He scores okay, but nothing too exciting. I've got more exciting defenders in the Contender division, so I have transfer listed him immediately. This is the card that I won, Sebastian Klaas, who I won from the Sorare Co-op rewards. So I won him alongside some Essence and some Level Up cards. So again, not the most exciting player. I've transfer listed him straight away. I'm not going to get much money from either of them. Maybe I can trade them for a really cheap card that I want to help with my collection. That's kind of what I'm probably going to end up doing with these cards. Trading them with bots for equally priced cards that would help me with the collections. Like Chelsea, Santos, West Ham, Necaxa. Wherever there's like a cheap player that's like 70 to £1, maybe I'll trade these cards for them. That's my kind of plan. Unless somebody wants to buy them off the transfer market, but they're not the most exciting cards, so I don't think I'm going to have many offers for them. The cards that I've bought since last week have been two West Ham cards, Danny Ings and Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson has moved to Ipswich, so I'm hoping he gets some time there. And Danny Ings there's been a lot of talk in the sort of news that Danny Ings might get a chance with the new West Ham manager because West Ham haven't signed any strikers yet. So there's rumors that Danny Ings could leave. If he leaves, surely he goes to a team where he gets first team football. If he stays at West Ham, there is talk that maybe he could fight for a first team place. And at the price I bought him for, 35p, even if he doesn't get in the West Ham team, that's a good price just to help out my West Ham card collection bonus. So I bought these two cards at 35p and 45p, mainly just to help my West Ham collection. It's not looking good with Aubameyang. I did buy Aubameyang a week ago when I knew there was rumors that he might go to Saudi Arabia or stay at Marseille. There was a lot of talk, it's 50-50. But for £3.25, I also bought him for his international usage with Gabon. And also, he helps with my Chelsea collection. It's another card to help with my Chelsea collection, so his price came down massively because of the Saudi rumors. I decided to buy him, even though it looks like he's going to Saudi now, just to help with my Chelsea collection. I do want to complete that Chelsea collection. So him coming down in price, that's the lowest I've ever seen his price. I bought that just as a kind of nice to have, nice to complete my collection. And these cards I showed you in last week's video that I bought. So I've only bought two new cards, the two West Ham cards, and I've won these two cards. So those are my new gallery additions. Let's finish this week's video by looking at my lineups for the coming week. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a look at my teams for what will be July the 19th to the 23rd. There is a midweek set of fixtures that's currently live. I haven't really done much midweek. I did put some lineups out there. There is a midweek set of Liga MX fixtures. We could have a quick look at that. I have put out, they didn't have the Contender division for the midweek, but I have put out some capped leagues. I put out Cap 270, which is done okay. These scores are all currently happening where if Necaxa do really well, I've got all 4 Necaxa cards in this team. POV once again did really well midweek, 101 from him. I did captain him this time. And Necaxa are currently playing on, as I speak, Wednesday evening. So if Necaxa do really well, I might get a reward here. Let's see. I put out some cards for my 240, but they've not really hit. And I put out a 220 of Santos cards. Santos lost to Atlas yesterday. So I'm not expecting much here because these guys aren't really going to deliver. I'm holding onto a tier 5 at the moment, but other people have to play today, so I'm not expecting much there. But it does show you it's really not competitive at the moment, with like Liga MX kind of being one of the main divisions at the moment. I am quite enjoying that being there. So for the coming July the 19th to 23rd, I'm going to be going again for the Contender division. This is my strongest lineup. POV, captain, once again. He's got a good fixture, but even when he doesn't have a good fixture, he's a really attacking defender. So happy with him. And then I'm going to play 4 Necaxa cards alongside with him once again. This is kind of my play at the moment. 4 Necaxa cards and POV. It's the goalkeeper, it's the 2 good scoring midfielders, and it's the forward who actually plays on the wing and kind of runs down the wing a lot, takes players on, crosses the ball a lot. So that's my thinking for the Contender. Necaxa are playing Lyon, which they've not started the season well. 3 games into the season. I don't think they've won a game yet. I think they might have lost 2 and drawn 1. So hoping that their bad form continues and Necaxa's good form, they've started the season well, hoping that they can really take advantage. If Necaxa have a good season, I'm in for a good time in the Contender division. So that's going to be the team that I put in the Contender division. I did also get promoted from my division in the Contender. So I was in, I've got 2 teams in Division 2 in the Classic division. I did have 1 in Division 3. I got promoted last week, so I've now got 2 in Division 2, which is nice. So hopefully they do well and I get better prizes. Then I'm going to be putting out capped lineups. I've only got 2 goalkeepers in La Liga MX that play, so I can only really put 2 competitive lineups. So this is going to be the competitive lineup in the cap 270 this week. It's the Santos goalkeeper who's playing Tigres. I'm really not expecting Santos to do well here. However, if he gets a lot of saves, even if they don't keep a clean sheet, maybe he can get a respectable score just from getting a lot of saves. And then I'm not going to be putting any other Santos players in my lineup with the Santos goalkeeper. I'm going to be putting Nathan Silva, the defender from Pumas. That's going to be my defender. My midfielders, I'm going to be putting these 2 Atlas midfielders. Atlas looked really good. I did watch them beat Santos midweek yesterday. And I didn't know if that was because Santos were bad or if Atlas were good. But Atlas have started the season well. They've got Aguirre, like I said, who's going to be playing up front. So I'm actually playing 3 Atlas players in this team. The striker and 2 midfielders. Fulgencio was on loan last year from Tigres. He's moved to Atlas now, so hopefully he can get a bit more settled. He didn't have the best of seasons last year. I did buy his card last year because I thought, here's this hotshot, young midfielder from Tigres on loan at Atlas. Hopefully he's going to prove himself. It didn't quite work for him last season, but he showed enough for them to want to keep him for a second season. So I'm hoping this second season he gets a bit more comfortable, starts doing better. He did look lively against Santos. He still looks a little bit wasteful. His end product really needs to work on his end product. It's not quite there, but let's see if that gets there. Jeremy Marquez did score against Santos, is a good young midfielder, a good Mexican midfielder. So I'm hoping these 3 Atlas players can do well. They've got a good fixture against Puebla, who aren't the best team, haven't started the season well. So I'm hoping Atlas can do well. If they do, I'm in for big rewards. And then the last 2 cap teams that I put out aren't super serious. DMP goalkeepers with 4 cards that need to smash. My cap 240, I've got 4 Santos cards, just in case Santos can somehow turn it around, turn their form around and get a win against Tigres. I've got Carrillo, the best midfielder. Munoz, probably going to be the starting striker. Diego Medina seems to be one of the second best midfielder, basically. And Govea is kind of the right back, one of the better defenders. So 4 Santos cards and a DMP goalkeeper. And then the 220 is another DMP goalkeeper with 4 cards that I think will probably do better than any of the Santos players. Alan Montes, who hasn't been playing for Necaxa lately. I would like Alan Montes to get back into the Necaxa first team, because if he does, I've then got a full stack of Necaxa cards when they have a good fixture, and I can play POV with other cards. But for now, Montes isn't guaranteed. I think there was a lot of transfer rumors he might leave Necaxa. There was a lot of teams that are interested, but he came back into the team last game for Necaxa. So maybe that means he's not going to be leaving. And because of that, he's going to be back in the first team. If he is, a young Mexican defender, really good. So I'm putting him in this team because he's a gamble. If he starts, he could do well. If he doesn't start, that's why he's in the gamble lineup. Villapando's in the gamble lineup because he's not quite been hitting the good scores he was hitting last year. But it's early days in the season. I'm hoping he gets back to his good form. Atuesta, who knows? Who knows what LAFC are going to do? They lost 5-1 in the last game. They've now got an away fixture, which I feel like MLS teams, whenever they're away, it's always difficult. So let's see how he does. No idea. It's a gamble. And then Cade Cowell is the Chivas striker who I signed last year. Young Chivas striker who's playing on the wing, partly because they've got Chicharito playing up front, so he has to kind of accommodate him. But look at this form he was doing last year. Last year, he was really not really doing well. He did show promise last year. I did watch a few Chivas games, and he did have games where even in these low-scoring games, there were times when he needs to work on his end product. He's a little bit like Fulgencio at Atlas. He's a young, really young player, showing promise. Chivas signed him from MLS. They must see some promise. Chivas are quite good at scouting players, young players, so I'm hoping they've got an eye for him. And he did show some scores here, 65, 76, 100. He did have a few games where he showed what he's capable of, but he had far too many of these low scores. But this season, last two games, 70, 78. I haven't actually watched Chivas this season, so I'm not aware of how he did, but I'm keeping an eye on him. He's playing more minutes this season, and he's putting better scores so far, 45, 78, 70. So with that in mind, I'm going to captain him in this lineup. It's a little bit of a punt, but really hoping Cade Cowell can have a good season and start establishing himself as like one of the Liga MX leading wingers. And he's a forward card, and forward cards are pretty tricky in Liga MX to find a good one. And I think he also qualifies as an under 23. I think he's an under 23 card. Yeah, he's still an under 23 card. He's 18 years old. The card is 18 years old, but he is now 20 years old. So I've still got 3 years of usage. If he can establish himself, he could be a good card for my under 23 lineup. When the European season starts and I've got more under 23 cards to play with him, he could be a good card for the under 23s as well. So those are my lineups for the coming week. I hope Cade Cowell is going to kick his career. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Let me know if you've got any tips for me. I'm still waiting for Chelsea to tell me who their starting goalkeeper is going to be for the next season so I can buy the Chelsea goalkeeper. I've also got my eye on Christopher Nkunku and maybe the Santos former boy. Forgetting his name now. Brunetta. I've got my eyes on Brunetta, Nkunku, and Chelsea goalkeeper. They're the guys that if you've got any other last-minute cheap options, let me know. Let me know what you're thinking of the videos. Any tips for the coming season. I appreciate all the advice, all the support you've been showing me so far. I really appreciate it. That's all for this week, guys. Peace.